Something happened on my friend's birthday camping trip. They've all moved on. I need someone else to tell me I'm not crazy. My friends and I went on a camping trip a couple months ago on the Ho River in Olympic National Park, and there is one thing about it that I cannot get out of my head. The strange part is that none of my friends that were with me really think much of it anymore. If I bring it up, I just get these surface level responses like it was a great weekend and we should do it again sometime. Every time I heard that, I just sit there thinking, what the fuck are you talking about? Maybe we go camping again someday. Somewhere else. But not for a while. I'm still not over Wilder's birthday and I'll get to that. But I want to first share how awesome and normal of a trip this was. And I guess maybe still was. Anyway, I'll get to the point, but hear me out first. 6 of us drove out there for Wilder turning 22. He'd been talking about the Ho River for almost a year. Hiking, fishing, tripping mushrooms in the forest on his birthday, it's all been planned out. This is very typical of our friend group, but we hadn't gone somewhere this cool yet. Wilder and I planned most of the details ourselves, and the rest of them were just like, this sounds awesome. Let us know when and where and we'll be there. We had about an 8-hour drive from Boise. It was gorgeous. We stopped constantly. Gas stations, overlooks, random pull-offs whenever Tyler spotted a view worth taking a picture of or to fly his drone. He was in Wilder's truck who was leading the pack, so I just assumed he was choosing the spots and Wilder would pull over. The rest of us didn't mind. The road trip alone was already a blast and we all took plenty of time off work. We were in no rush. Tyler would take out his fancy camera stuff and spend a little while taking pictures. I swear he brought like 8 different cameras. He would also film the group with one of his cameras or the drone. He wanted to document this trip like a movie, which we were all stoked for. The rest of us would just catch up with each other in the other cars. Smoke a joint, talk about the first things we want to do when we set up, etc. Last stop was at the National Forest entry sign. We wanted to get a group picture and film us crossing over. This place is huge. We drove for probably another hour, seeking out the best spot to set up camp. We had 3 overland vehicles, so the terrain wasn't a problem. We could have pulled off anywhere. We passed quite a few other campsites. A few families, 1 or 2 other small groups spread out for miles across the banks of the river. We settled far enough away from any of the ones we passed where our noise wouldn't bother them. We're here to fish and hike and do that kind of stuff during the day, but we don't want to have to worry about being too loud for neighbors at night. Wilder pulled off the trail in a spot where the trees were barely far enough apart to get his truck through. I don't even know how he saw it. We were moving when he just stopped and pointed at a gap in the tree line. It didn't look like anyone else had ever considered they could make it through here. At least there were no signs someone had ever driven to this spot before. The rest of us were skeptical, so we let Wilder and Tyler try to maneuver through before the rest of us followed. It took some skill, a few 3-point turns to make it through, probably scraped the side of his truck up a few times squeezing through, but he made it. He hopped out and yelled something like, "It's fucking perfect." Him and Tyler walked back through the forest to help navigate the rest of us through, Tyler filming some of it. We parked sort of aimlessly at first just to hop out and celebrate. I grabbed a few of us beers from the cooler in my tailgate and we walked down to the river. It was probably 50 yards from where we parked at the tree line. Close enough to hear it from the campsite. It was wider than I expected. Moving pretty steady, almost calm on the surface, but you could tell it was heavier than it looked. It was fucking awesome. The group was excited, chatting and joking about whatever. Planning out the next few days. Thinking if we set up camp fast, we can try to catch some fish for dinner. We have plenty of food, but we really want to catch and cook as much trout, salmon as we could this week. Maybe we could get lucky on the first night. We spend the next hour or so setting up. Music playing on Sam's giant Bluetooth speaker. We had repositioned our cars to make a semi-circle we could string lights across to light the entire campsite. We set up our tents on the other side of the cars, sort of completing a circle where we can set up the fire pit and everything else in the middle. One section is a full-on outdoor kitchen. Coolers, camp stoves, cutting boards, totes of utensils, cups, plates, etc. The rest are like full-on outdoor living areas. Blow-up couches, camping chairs, card tables and more coolers. The girls brought some cool psychedelic tapestries to hang around the trees. We had our hammocks hanging between them. The campsite was top tier. I would have loved to have gone back there again by now. Maybe I need to. Anyways, it was starting to get dark and we needed to collect some firewood, so we didn't have time to fish that night. Sam built a fire pit dead center of our circle while the rest of us collected wood. Once the fire was built, my girlfriend Chloe and I slipped away down to the river while everyone else was prepping dinner. I can't remember exactly what we were talking about. We were several beers in by that point, just wandering along the bank and enjoying finally being there after a full day of driving. I do remember thinking it was crazy we couldn't hear Sam's music anymore. The river wasn't that loud and we weren't that far away from them. We couldn't hear it again until we were back in the circle. Our own little world for the next week. There are potatoes wrapped in tinfoil thrown directly in the hot coals. Sam grilling steaks over a grill grate with a heavy metal stake drove into the ground next to the fire. A pan of veggies sizzling next to them. Tyler and Emily are making bread dough to cook directly on the ashy coals, just like Luke Nichols. Ready to be smothered in honey. We have spent hours smoking weed and watching his Outdoor Boys YouTube channel together leading up to this trip. We were way too excited about that part. He inspired half of this trip. I had to mention it and credit the goat. We all eat together, laughing, joking, Tyler taking photos and filming random points of the night. One of the best nights of our lives. This place was a total vibe. At this point, it feels like every night here is going to feel this way. Most of us are pretty drunk at this point. The girls don't drink as much as the guys, and Emily doesn't really drink at all, but we're all having a great time. The boys plan to get up early and hit the river. The girls are going to hike around. Most of us head to bed to prep for the early morning. I think Wilder and Sam stayed up. The next day the boys got up right as the sun was peeking up. I'm still kind of drunk from last night. Make a pot of coffee and grab some protein bars or something for breakfast. We grab our fly rods and throw on our waders and hit the river. This is really what I was most excited for. We spent a couple hours fishing, wading down the river a little bit but not too far from camp, so it's not too hard to walk back upstream. The side of the river we were on was a lot shallower. Tyler had his camera with him, so we didn't want to risk trying to cross. But walking up the banks of this side of the river is not really possible. Between the three of us I think we caught 8 that morning. We were back at camp around noon. The girls were gone on their hike. I'll start sparing so many details about the camping itself, just want you all to understand what kind of trip this was, and how great of a time we actually had. Wilder's birthday is the important part, mainly the morning after. The second night was similar to the first, the newest best day of our lives. Smoking joints, drinking beers, telling stories, honey bread. Everyone having the time of our lives. The third day was Wilder's birthday, so we're trying to plan something we can all do together during the day. Ultimately we wanted Wilder to decide whatever we do, but he didn't want to plan anything specific. He would have fast-forwarded to the next night to eat the mushrooms if he could. That morning, the girls got up early and decorated the camp with mushroom and fish-themed birthday decorations. As soon as Wilder emerges from his tent, they bring him a donut with a joint shoved in the middle like a candle. It was hilarious. I'm making breakfast burritos on the camp stove, Chloe is pouring everyone mimosas, the Bluetooth speaker is already blasting. Wilder lights his birthday candle. We went through 2 bottles of champagne before the bacon was ready. I hadn't even started on the eggs and salsa. After breakfast we all changed into bathing suits and headed down to the river to swim. We set up another mini camp right on the bank. Canopy for shade, camp chairs, card table, cooler full of beer. We're in and out of the river all day. Swimming, fishing, the girls sunbathing. Tyler had been flying his drone up and down the river filming for most of it. We can all tell in the moment how incredible those shots were going to. At some point we go back up for lunch. Take a few shots of tequila, even Emily took one with us for Wilder's birthday. Tyler had to document that rare occasion. The rest of the afternoon is pretty relaxed. We fucked around at camp, played some games, going back and forth from the river for any reason. Patiently waiting to eat the mushrooms. We didn't want to take them before it got dark. Day trips are great and all, but the vibe of our campsite at night is the atmosphere we wanted to spend the trip in. Wilder, Tyler, Sam, and myself have tripped together probably close to 20 times over the years. I am not bragging or glorying this when I say it, but we've taken some heroic, as some would say, doses of psychedelics before. This is nothing new to us. For the purpose of hopefully getting as much of you on my side as I can. I want to clarify for anyone reading this that has never experienced psychedelics before, it's nothing like the movies make it out to be. At least not in my experience, or anyone I've ever tripped with. You are not seeing dragons or 1,000 spiders crawling up the walls. Hollywood loves the trope of hallucinating an entire alternate reality, something completely separate from where you actually are. I've never come close to that on mushrooms or acid. The cartoonish trope is a little closer and easier to visualize. The colors, the way things move, the edges of things doing things they shouldn't. But it's not an episode of SpongeBob with you in it. It's still your world. The same trees, the same people, the same fire. Where it does get complicated is your headspace. There are moments where your brain is completely operating on its own accord and you surface back into the moment not entirely sure where you just were mentally. That's the part that can get scary, but it has nothing to do with what you're seeing. It's more what you're thinking. Your thoughts can take you places that are hard to come back from if you're not careful or not ready for it. But you always come back. Anyways, and it sounds bad to say as I write it, but some of the most fun I have ever had has been on psychedelics. Chloe had tripped a handful of times at concerts or music festivals and stuff like that, but very minor doses compared to what the rest of us typically do. Enough to enhance her experience, her mood, the way she perceives everything, but I don't think she's pushed it to that headspace before. So the only one in the group that hadn't experienced them before is Emily. She just has no interest in any of that stuff. She has the personality to thrive in any environment without the aid of any substances or alcohol. Cigarettes are her only vice. Being Wilder's birthday dinner, and the fact that we needed food in our stomachs from drinking all day, and what the mushrooms are going to do in our stomachs, we made an extravagant dinner for Wilder. Braised short ribs, mashed potatoes, stir-fried veggies, salad, rice, and of course a birthday cake. We ate a little earlier that day while the sun was still up. We wanted to give our stomachs enough time to settle after that kind of meal. The rest of the group kind of prepped the campsite to be a little more psychedelic but comforting for the evening. They cleared off tables, picked up trash, put knives and shit like that away, set up glow sticks on the ground to create a path down to the river so nobody gets hurt stumbling down there, scattered the rest of them on the tables, put a black light near the tapestries. We were prepared. I had brought 2 ounces of mushrooms, more than enough for the 5 of us to indulge for one night. And plenty left over if we want to do it again before heading back home. I was preparing them to make into chocolate bars while they were cleaning up camp. Me, Tyler, Wilder, and Sam are going for it. 5 grams each off the rip. Chloe likes to start small and build her way up if she wants more. She wanted to start with 1.5 grams. As I weigh the first 5 grams out, Wilder just goes for it and eats them straight, washing them down with a sip of beer after every couple. They taste like shit by the way, like someone took their finger and wiped it on the bottom of a really old couch and you licked it off. That's the best way I can describe it. I weighed out the rest of ours and put them into separate solo cups while they finished setting up. I used scissors to chop them up as finely as I could. Melted down some chocolate and poured it into popsicle molds and mixed in the mushrooms to each one. I marked Chloe's mold with a Sharpie to know which one to give her. One of our coolers still had dry ice at the bottom, with plenty of normal ice on top. Threw the molds in there for about 30 minutes for them to harden up. Sam had made a playlist specifically for this night, even putting all the songs in a certain order to make them more fitting as the night progresses. Once he pressed play, all phones were put away except for Emily's. She's allowed to keep hers while on parent duty. Tyler put all his fancy cameras away too to not risk carelessly breaking one of them. He's using his Polaroid for the rest of the night. We all eat our chocolate bars. Wilder is already coming up. We had got Wilder a nice bottle of bourbon for his birthday. I couldn't tell you the name of it but it was like $200 and tasted good. The boys each pour a heavy glass, the girls sipping wine, even Emily. We sit around the fire listening to the playlist breathe, talking about who knows what. Wilder's obviously kicking first, and he just has the biggest smile on his face you've ever seen. There's a point in the come up where you feel weird but not high yet. That feeling usually makes me a little nervous but that period doesn't last long. And alcohol typically hurries that along. Even without that, something will take you out of it. I think that's where Wilder was at this point. He got quiet but can't wipe that permanent grin off his face. As the next hour or so goes by, there is a constant echo of laughter. I'm talking your stomach hurts from laughing so hard, tears rolling down our faces. Everything becomes funny, anything you say, anything you do. yourself or someone else is going to find humor in it. Ours is contagious, even Emily is laughing her ass off with us. Tyler's taking Polaroids and showing them to us. We are all having the best time. Now's when your vision starts to almost blur, not the type to where you can't see, but where colors are stretching and more vibrant. There's a breathing effect on anything you focus on for more than a second. You feel like your peripheral vision has expanded and you can see an extra 10 feet over your shoulders in both directions. Sometime during that period Emily asks us if we wanted s'mores. The reaction out of all of us is like, this is the greatest idea any of us has ever heard. How did she come up with that? We were laughing our asses off realizing how we sounded. I'm laughing right now thinking about it. Chloe and I get up to help her get everything together. We all roast our marshmallows. Chloe likes hers burnt so she puts it close enough to catch on fire. She zones out a little too long staring at the flaming marshmallow before she realizes it's a little too done. I'm crying laughing again. We smoke some joints, drink some more, a lot more actually. Alcohol seems to not affect you as hard mentally while tripping, but it definitely still affects you physically. Ain't Nobody by Chaka Khan comes on. Chloe and Emily stand up and start dancing together. The rest of us can't resist. We stand up, a slight stumble, and I don't even know how to describe what happened next. There's a version of dancing you do at a bar when you're drunk and trying to look cool, and then there's whatever this was. Nobody was trying to do anything. We were just moving. All 6 of us were completely lost in it together around that fire. Tyler and Wilder go full slow motion. I take the camera from Tyler to make sure he's included in some of the pictures. I go full Steven Spielberg, one eye closed, framing everything up like I'm shooting a blockbuster, narrating shots out loud to nobody in particular. We are tripping balls at this point. And this is where it gets a little blurry, but the music, the dancing, that vibe had to have continued for a couple hours. That headspace I was talking about fades in and out. 1 minute I'm completely coherent, almost uncomfortably aware of everything around me. The way the fire sounds, someone's laugh cutting through the music. And then without deciding to, my mind goes somewhere else entirely. It's like zoning out, that feeling you get staring at nothing in particular and someone has to say your name twice before you hear them. On mushrooms it goes deeper than that, but it's the same idea. It never lasts long. Anything sudden pulls you right out of it. A loud laugh, someone grabbing your arm, a song changing. You come back and you're exactly where you left. The fire is still there. My friends are still there. After some time it will build again. Wilder was gone at this point, not to say the rest of us weren't, but he was feeling it the best. We stumbled down to the river and he flat out ate shit in the dark. Tyler and I almost fell ourselves laughing. The girls had to help him up. We took some blankets down and laid there staring up at the stars. Switched the music to Dark Side of the Moon and alike. It was a dream. The kind of moment you know is special while you're still in it. I couldn't tell you how long we were down there, not because this is where I start not remembering things. This is just the moment where we all went quiet and into our own heads. The stars were doing what stars do when you're tripping. Emily fell asleep for a little bit. After some time she says she's going to go back up to camp and make a cup of coffee. Sam asked her to bring the bottle of tequila down when she came back. She was gone for what felt like an eternity but probably wasn't. She came back with the tequila and we passed it around. Emily passed this time and jokingly said it's no longer Wilder's birthday and sipped her coffee. We all knew she was practically done for the night. We went back up to camp, built the fire back up and went back to dancing like no one was watching. Emily didn't last much longer. The coffee didn't help that much. She gives us all a hug, tells us to have a great rest of our night, wishes Wilder a final happy birthday and heads to her tent. I asked her what time it was as she was walking away and she said 12:30. That means we still have plenty of trip left. Now I'll admit I'm not only still tripping hard but I'm absolutely hammered at this point. And yeah, I know how that sounds given everything I just said about always knowing where you are and what's going on. But there's a difference between being drunk and high and not remembering something, and not remembering entire hours of your night. I've been way more gone than I was that night and still come home with a near perfect memory of the night. I remember the sun coming up. I remember deciding it was time to go to bed. Chloe and I even had sex when we got back to the tent. You don't black out the hours before that. And even if I did, what are the chances every single one of us did? When I woke up in the morning, I climbed out of my tent and Wilder was the only one up already. His flipping through the stack of Polaroids from last night, laughing way too loud like he typically. I go to take a piss by a tree and then grab a beer before even considering coffee and sit down at the table next to him. I'm still high, I'm still drunk, my body is the only thing that feels like shit. Wilder says something along the lines of how fucked up did we get last night? Who the fuck are these people, and shows me a picture. It's a Polaroid from last night, and it's Chloe and another girl. Laughing together, it's candid like most of them. Then there's one of Tyler and the same girl and another guy. Then there's one of this couple holding Wilder like a baby. Another one of me talking to the guy. There's a picture of all of us with these people except for Emily. The pictures weren't out of the ordinary, in fact they look like they could have been with us the entire night with how comfortable and happy we all look together. Wilder and I are like, what the fuck? We must have been super fucked up last night if neither one of us remember these people. We kind of brushed it off in the moment, but neither of us could believe we didn't remember them. We have never been that far gone. We walked down to the river, just kind of laughing about it, talking about the craziest parts of our trip. Maybe 30 or so minutes later, Chloe walks down to the river and asks how we're feeling. We both shake the beers in our hand and laugh, surprisingly not too bad. Neither one of us remember that couple from last night though. Where did they come from? Chloe says, huh? What couple? I remember the look Wilder and I shared with each other. No fucking way she doesn't remember them either. She ate a fraction of the amount of mushrooms we ate, and definitely didn't drink as much. She would remember. I said, you don't remember random couple being with us last night? Her look is just like, no, you guys are still tripping. Wilder says there's Polaroids of us all together last night. You were dancing with them in some of them. Show me. We walked back up in silence, all confused at this point. We showed her the pictures and she had the same reaction we did. What the fuck? There were probably 80 pictures or so, and the couple were in about 20 of them. They were scattered on the table so we can't put any sort of chronological order to them. But we were all in at least one with them besides Emily. Everyone else had the same reaction when they woke up. Nobody remembered them being there. Emily is the only one that would have definitely remembered them, but she went to bed early. It must have been after she went to sleep. We're all kind of skeptical at first but kind of go through the day as normal. We're all fine, nothing is missing. We loosen up about it as the day goes on but still curious. Everyone else still chalks it up to the shrooms being extra strong and how much we drank. Even Chloe thinks I'm crazy for still worrying about it. And I get it. Nothing happened. Nobody got hurt. We had 3 more great days after that. 2 strangers crashed our campfire and we were too messed up to remember it. That's the reasonable explanation. I just can't make myself believe it. I wrote all of this out and sat on it for a few months. Started to convince myself they were probably right and I didn't want to share it and have anyone else try to tell me the same thing. But then yesterday Tyler texted me and said he had been going through some of the stuff he shot from the trip and I need to see something in person. I'm meeting him tomorrow. I don't know what he found yet, but I figured if there was ever a time to finally post this, it's now. I may have someone else on my side now and could use more. I'll keep you all updated on what he shows me.